So Joe Biden has announced his re-election campaign, and not everybody's happy about it, even among Democrats. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So I was out at lunch yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about Joe Biden announcing his re-election campaign. Neither of us were particularly enthusiastic. I mean, it appears for most people that Biden kind of ended up as our party and our nation's leader simply by virtue of the fact that he was kind of the last one left standing. Truth be told, when he was running, he was certainly not my first choice. Elizabeth Warren was, actually. And the fact that this is a broad problem, not just isolated to me and my friends, is shown by the fact that he actually lost the first couple primaries before finally rescuing his campaign in South Carolina. And Biden has done some things that I could see would kind of annoy people. I mean, stylistically, let's face it, he's an older guy who sometimes stumbles over his words. I mean, he does have a speech impediment that he's struggled with his entire life. Kind of amazing, actually, when you think about his career. He also generally likes to get along with people, so he doesn't like picking fights with Mitch McConnell and others, for example, having served with many of them for decades in the Senate. He also has some questionable history, like his handling of the whole Anita Hill controversy when Clarence Thomas was being nominated to the Supreme Court, something I'm pretty sure he now regrets. And he is somebody who, just by his very nature, likes to kind of find a middle course that can kind of get along with everybody. You see that example, for example, on energy policy, where Biden has come out in favor of oil drilling in some pretty pristine places in Alaska. A decision that earns the enmity of many people, myself included, by the way. His heavy hand in immigration as well has bothered me, especially given the fact that they're never going to give him credit for it on the other side. But that being said, I think overall, Biden's done a pretty decent job. His handling of the crisis in Ukraine has been nothing short of stellar, earning the praise of people all across the political spectrum, and winning the respect of our allies around the world. While many criticize his withdrawal from Afghanistan, let's face it, Afghanistan was a fiasco no matter how you cut it, and at least he got us out of there, saving over 120,000 of our allies in the process. And even though most people look at the economy negatively right now, it's actually doing pretty well, generating jobs at a higher rate than ever was accomplished when Donald Trump bragged about having the greatest economy in the history of the world. I mean, it's kind of amazing after Donald Trump went 3 years through his presidency without a single crisis he didn't create himself, until, of course, COVID came along. Biden has had to deal with one crisis after another, and generally speaking has handled them pretty well. But as a lifelong Democratic activist, I know that simply doing a good job as president isn't going to be enough to energize my fellow Democrats, especially the younger ones. We want to be in love with our candidate. We want to be inspired by them. That's why we were so enthusiastic about Barack Obama the first time he ran, not so much the second time he ran. I mean, truth be told, were it not for the large African-American turnout in 2012, Barack Obama probably would have lost. And if you don't believe me, just ask Mitt Romney, who thought he'd won on election night. But once again, I'm going to step into the breach here and urge my fellow liberal Democratic activists to set aside our quest for passion and enthusiasm, especially young people. I mean, to young people, this is not simply some theoretical discussion here. The question is, are they going to inherit a world that is something we can all live in, or one that is essentially on fire? And to give Biden credit, he has done a remarkable job on climate policy. I mean, we just heard the other day about how the EPA is now proposing the first controls on greenhouse gases from power plants. And that's on top of their announcement that they're going to push for us to have even more electric vehicles than had originally been talked about. I mean, let's face it, between cars and trucks and power plants, if we make the kind of strides on those two areas that the Biden administration has been pushing for, we actually will achieve the climate goals that we've set for ourselves. This is a remarkable achievement given the fact that just a few years ago, people believed there was no chance the United States would make its climate goals. And this is on top of the Inflation Reduction Act, which, despite its name, is basically a big climate bill. And for those who say things like, oh, there's no difference between the parties, or oh, when you compare Biden to Trump, that's not a fair comparison, it's worth noting that this is not just an issue between Biden and Trump. This is an issue between Biden and all Republicans. As the Union of Concerned Scientists is pointing out, and others have pointed out as well, the Republican positioning that they've been taking over the debt ceiling debate, arguing that they're doing it because they want to stop the United States from going deeper into debt, is actually basically false. I mean, if they were really intent on reducing the debt, they wouldn't be trying to get rid of the additional funding for the IRS. That would allow them to go after high-dollar tax cheats. But what's more is their proposals under the debt ceiling debate, more than anything, try to privilege fossil fuels over renewables and try to undercut the progress that the Biden administration has been making in saving our climate. So I'm going to put it to you quite simply and say that if you're concerned about the climate of the world and want to make sure that our young people have worlds that they can live in that's not on fire, you need to make sure that President Biden is reelected. And you need to get enthusiastic about that and fast. Because if you don't, control could be handed back to the Republicans who want to do nothing more than let the oil companies burn down your future. Well, if you want to see another video about how Fox News and Republicans lie about the climate, check out this video over here. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.